another random character generator. I am Greg Tito, and I'm joined by Brandy Camel. Hi, Brandy.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Very excited to roll up a random character in this segment using D&D Beyond's wonderful feature. We do this, and we get the output from the random character generator, and Brandy and I work together to develop a backstory for this character that you can use in your game or just to see the fun of creating a character, full fleshed out character from a bunch of numbers and choices on this character sheet. And so I think we're ready to start with this third level character. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Hitting the bouton. Aha. Idalisa Clawwillow is a variant human warlock. Interesting.
Okay.
Weird stats for a warlock. We got a high strength of 15, a 9 for dexterity, a 16 con, -1 modifier on intelligence and wisdom, both with a 9, and a charisma, which is their spellcasting stat, with a 0.
So this is very clearly not a heavily spellcasting favoring warlock.
Oh, yeah. And that makes sense because as I'm clicking through here, their description is the background of a Azorius functionary.
Okay.
So this puts Idalisa on the plane of Ravnica, which we detailed in D&D's book, Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica.
Yeah.
And it's an entire city with different factions that interact in different ways. And what do you know about the Azorius Senate in Ravnica?
So the Azorius are kind of, if I recall from the Magic the Gathering side, I think it's the blue-white faction. And they're sort of the military police of the city, where they enforce the laws and they tend to do the investigations into wrongdoing and criminal investigations and things like that. So the idea of this warlock being within Azorius kind of raises some questions, doesn't it?
It does. And of course, with a warlock, choosing their otherworldly patron is always a important step. And Idalisa has the Great Old One as a patron.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
The Great Old One is usually thought of as a fae creature, right?
I think is Great Old One fae, or is Great Old One more like the Eldritch mythos, like Cthulhu-esque?
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Yes, of course it is. And yes. So
this is more the kind of like creepy offsetting mythos. So this could actually be, all right, I have an idea.
Okay. Right. I want to hear it.
So I'm already leaning into this particular one that we've rolled up being really good as an NPC. This could be a really cool way for some, slightly corrupt, or maybe even just somebody who wasn't corrupt as an individual on the Azorius Council to have been like, I need to solve this case, or I need to solve this murder, or whatever the crime is that's been committed. They're like, you know what could get me there is making this deal.
And so they've made a deal with a cosmic horror, perhaps, but maybe it's not quite horror, this Great Old One. Maybe this one's a little bit more lawful.
Well, especially with the Great Old Ones, a lot of the time they tend to play the long game. They tend to play a lot of the subterfuge, and you'll often make a pact that you're not even aware that you're making. So there's a really good Great Old One. I've run a campaign with them before, which is the Man in Yellow, Haster. Haster is a Great Old One who is very tied into runes and contracts and things of that nature, which might fit really well into the Azorius kind of law-bringing, abiding aspect.
That is really interesting. This warlock also has a couple of interesting spells as their cantrips. No Eldritch Blast, which is in and of itself completely rare for a warlock. They've got Friends, which might make sense if they're an investigator, as you're saying in Ravnica. They want to be able to get people on their side a little bit easier. But Magic Stone is an interesting transmutation cantrip in that it's almost like this reminds me of like a halfling type thing where you can kind of imbue a stone and then use that to throw it at someone for bludgeoning damage.
So I think what I kind of like about steering away from the Eldritch Blast in this particular case is that this is kind of a low charisma character for a warlock. So maybe they're relying a whole lot less on that aspect of their spell casting ability. Like this might be the kind of thing where you home rule a little bit that when they chuck one of these magic stones with their hand, they're using the strength modifier instead of their charisma modifier. That might make more sense for this style of character.
Yeah. Oh, and the interesting part about Magic Stone, which doesn't really help here in this case, is that you can imbue those stones with your own spellcasting ability. So that if you had a high charisma, for example, you could give them a stone and then they could potentially have like a +6 or +7 to throw that stone. But you're basically, I don't think that Adalisa would do it in this situation because it's not much of an advantage with a +0 on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing it's really giving her in this case is that she always has a weapon on hand, right? And I think we've also kind of established this as a female at this point. I think
so
where
too,
both of our minds went, especially the name Idalisa seems very feminine to me.
Agreed. And Claw Willow, that's an interesting name too.
Claw Willow is an interesting name.
I don't know what that might mean quite yet, but as far as other spells that they've got, Armor of Agathis is a good protective spell for a warlock. We've got Bane, Invisibility, Misty Step, and Unseen Servant.
Okay.
For second level spells. Nice bit of utility spells here.
That's what I was about to say, is that there's a lot of utility here, and there's a lot that honestly doesn't rely on their casting stat. You don't really need your charisma to put Bane on things. I mean, I guess they still get a save, right? But
yeah, right. But that's the only one out of these spells that is affected by charisma.
Otherwise, invisibility, use it all day long. Misty Step, use it when it needs to pop up. Unseen Servant. I'm highly entertained by the idea that she makes the Unseen Servant do her paperwork.
Yeah, I love that idea. And being able to be, teleport yourself with a Misty Step while invisible, it would be really, really handy for an investigator.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I mean, that gets you both a get out of jail free card, but also the other way around. That's a really great way to infiltrate somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the skills here, acrobatics is trained, although she's not very good at it. Same with insight and intimidation. And actually, none of the trained skills are ones in which she's got high stats. So it feels like she went through the Azorius training and did everything that she needed to do in order to become an Azorius functionary, but she doesn't really excel at any of those things.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to have this person who, maybe they were more this was your street cop character, right? Who is now leaning into the investigator side of themselves. And maybe that's what their path is to follow. Maybe, as you level up and you gain more feats, you start investing in feats that bump things like your charisma so that you become better at those sorts of skills.
Right? Yeah, that makes sense. There are some Eldritch invocations that Adalisa has here with the Repelling Blast, as well as the Thief of 5 Fates.
Ooh.
That means you can cast Bane once using a Warlock spell slot. So basically you can depend on Bane a lot in order to help protect you if you're under being attacked. And then the otherworldly patient of the Great Old One provided the Pact of the Talisman. So Idalisa has an amulet or some type of object.
It's her badge. It's her badge.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
That could be really cool.
That is cool. So that means that if the wearer fails an ability check, they can use the magic imbued in that talisman, which would make a lot of sense for her. Maybe this is something where she... Oh, here's a little idea. Let me know what you think about it. But what if they were... Adalisa was going through her training and she was not doing great. Like she was going as best as she could do, but she wasn't making it happen. And she prayed to something to help her. She's like, all I want to do is I've been wanting to wear this badge for all of my life. Please just give me the power that I need to accomplish this next task in my training. And a Great Old One, perhaps unbeknownst to her, reached out beyond the void and gave her that badge and that talisman. And then she is able to sometimes call upon that in order to help her out during skill checks.
I dig it. I think that's awesome. It's a really great story justification for how this character who does have disparate stats for otherwise the character that they would have built, it kind of justifies putting them in that position and why, why did you go down this route? Well, I really wanted it and I had to have a way to do it, so this was the way to do it.
This was the way to do it. Awesome. They've also got a
that's interesting.
UA
That came from
feat in
UA.
here. Gift of the Gem Dragon.
Oh, interesting. It's already bumping their charisma. Her charisma.
So that means that she had a 10 charisma at one point. So maybe when they get to level 3, you can bump that at one more for at least a +1 to that modifier.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think? What do you think about a gem dragon perhaps being this old one?
That's an interesting idea. I don't know that I've ever thought of gem dragons in that way, but that could be a really cool twist. That maybe there is a gem dragon, great old one that we've never heard of, and that's this character's patron.
Right. Well, we haven't heard about gem dragons very much in Dungeons and Dragons recently, so perhaps they do hail from another plane and might be contacted from Ravnica and bring the whole gem dragon idea into that plane for whoever Dungeon Master is going to run with Adilissa Clawwillow.
Yeah, that could
Which
be really
gem dragon would it be if you had to choose?
Oh gosh, I don't know the gem dragons very well, but I like the idea of an onyx gem dragon.
Ooh, yeah,
that could be
very cool. Would that So that means the talisman or the thing that might have an aspect of onyx, or is that just what she imagines when she's contacted by this entity?
Probably. I mean, it could be a little bit of both. Maybe there's a little sliver of onyx that's been embedded in or hidden in that's makes the badge to someone with a trained eye. Something's not quite right about that.
Yeah, interesting. And one of the reasons why Adalissa's stats are as low as they are is because even though she's a human, I think she chose the variant human that was a feat at first level rather than +1 to all of your stats. So that's where she got this feat from. So maybe she was contacted early on, maybe through a dream or some other kind of contact in her youth, and then it kind of focused when she made that prayer during her training, reaching adulthood.
Yeah, I love this kind of story that we've woven about this, this kind of not quite fully realized recruit that has found her way in through somewhat nefarious means, but maybe without even knowing it.
Yeah, I like it too. So what is her demeanor? What does Adalissa look like? What does she act like? Based on everything that we put together here.
I mean, she seems like a pretty stacked character, right? This is someone who is strong, who is muscular, who is not to be messed with. But I don't, the training and intimidation suggests that it could be partially that physicality, and it could just be, she's not great with words. So I think she might be the bad cop in the good cop, bad cop relationship if she's got a partner.
Right.
Particularly since there's this touch of the nefarious that's somewhere in the back of her mind from this pact and this binding to a mysterious gem dragon.
For some reason, I'm thinking about Zootopia and Bunny Hops.
Yeah.
But mashed up with the Idris Elba character in this too. So it's a tough Bunny Hops who has been trying to get through based on her strength and health rather than her courage or gumption that is in the movie. Because she does have a lot of hit points. I mean, with +3 on the con,
she's tanky.
She is very tanky, which is you could really build a cool character like that. All right, so what does she sound like when she's talking?
Oh, let's see. This is she's a bit more, down to the books. We're gonna book them. We're gonna get you. Freeze, wrongdoer. Very, very kind of oh God, what's the iconic tone that people get asked for in voice acting for this is the paladin, which in this case is kind of weird given that she's a warlock. But that's usually what they give you as direction is like the paladin or the soldier of fortune. I think that's not a voice I specialize in at all, but
but I believed it when you just did it, so that works.
Mm-hmm.
I think you even got the power suit on that could fit here.
I have the power suit on today. But
yeah, I'm liking it. All right, well, I think we've figured out what Idalissa Clawwillow is like. The only thing that I think I'm missing is her name. Where does Clan Clawwillow come from? Does that mean anything in this, or is it just a name?
It could just be a name. It could suggest that she has some kind of like older ties to, maybe somebody on the Celestia side that's within the city. Maybe she married into it. Maybe that's the name of her partner. That it could be an adopted name. It could be name by marriage. I could see either of those working out, even if it's not in her own personal background of where she came from, it could be something that she's found along the way.
I like that. I like that it was something like it's like her married name now, so she's got no connection to it, and no familial connection to it in that way. The language here, we got Sylvan, which makes sense for Azorius, but Zemnian. I don't know what that means. So
Zemnian's another Exandria language. So that comes from, let's see, that is Wildmount. So, interesting. Yeah, that's
so. In this context, I'd say she married a foreigner, someone who's not at home in Ravnica, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe she married somebody from Exandria. That could be interesting.
Went through the portal. The plane shift was cast, unbeknownst to her, perhaps by the Onyx gem dragon that is her otherworldly patron.
Could be.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think I'm going to sum up Idalissa Clawwillow. She is a warlock who follows and was a trainee of Azorius. Very passionate about wreaking justice wherever she could. But in the Azorius training, she failed at a lot of tasks and was not quite up to speed, perhaps due to her lower dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And she called upon her badge. It was like kind of the symbol of the badge of Azorius was something that she was devoted to. And something heard her pleas and gave her the power to overcome challenges when needed most so that she could pass her training. And now she is a Azorius functionary in the city of Ravnica with her husband, who hails from another land. So she's able to speak his language, and his name is Clawwillow, which is why she's Idalissa Clawwillow. But she is a burly, tankish fighter, but who uses her warlock powers and spells to evade capture or to get somewhere where she may not be able to, that's under protection by criminal elements, and doesn't have an Eldritch Blast, but uses her magic stone to perhaps always have her weapon on her, even in places where it might have been confiscated. And so she's adept at getting into places and doesn't really talk her way out of things. She's usually a gruff, by the books type of character. And so she really needs a partner, I think. And perhaps in another random character generator, we'll develop a partner for Idalissa Clawwillow, and then they can go on adventures together.
That sounds wonderful.
I love it. All
right,
one more time. Give me. What does she say to her partner? What's her catchphrase?
Oh, what's her catchphrase?
I don't know what we're gonna do, Idalissa. We gotta make the sandwiches.
This is so dumb. Then we'll make them with brute strength. I don't know. I don't know what a brute strength sandwich looks like. Is that like a panini because it's squished? I don't know. I've gone weird places. All right.
As far as improv prompts go, that was not very good, so I apologize.
Oh, it's my bad for not yes-anding better.
Yeah, well, it works. I think it is a really, really strong, fun character, and I hope folks can take a look at it. We'll show the link to this character in D&D Beyond in the show notes, and let us know what you think about Idealistic Claw Willow. Thanks, Brandy. It's always fun to come up with these random characters from suboptimal snats, but here's another one that at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I would ever play this, but now I'm like, dang, I want to play this.
Yeah,
character.
and even if I didn't want to like play this directly, like I think she would make an amazing NPC to run as a dungeon master.
Good call. How can folks get in touch with you, Brandy, on the interwebs?
If you want to find me, the easiest place to find me for D&D stuff is probably in the D&D Discord. If you're not hanging out there, you should come join because it's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's discord.gg/D&D. And or you can find me on Twitter at Dainty, DAYNTEE.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again. And hope to roll another character with you soon.
Yeah, for sure, Greg. Thanks.
All right. Bye.